Hey guys, welcome back to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with a Tristana top build. So this build that you see here with the items is actually it was used by one of the top 3 Tristana players a little while ago. I don't believe this build is there anymore. Yep, it definitely isn't. But back when I was doing this, trying to get a gameplay for this build, this was the top build, and I thought it was pretty interesting because it's like 3 crit items, and then you have early Runans, and then you have Triforce. I was like, this is pretty interesting, so I decided to try it out for myself, and I actually think that it was pretty decent. Right, so let's just quickly go through the build. It should be relatively obvious how it works. Of course, Gluttonous Grease for the early AD and Omnivamp, and then into an early Bloodthirster. Again, huge amount of AD as well as physical Vamp. And then we go into the classic Navori for Tristana. Core item on her gives her, of course, the lowered cooldowns, most important for her EQ, and in fact sometimes for her W as well if you don't get resets. So basically just a dream item for Tristana. And then after 2 crit items, you're actually going for Navori, right? I'm not Navori, you're actually going for Runans. Right? Runans as a third item, pretty interesting. Because obviously you do go for this like as a last item sometimes, because it does of course allow you to hit 3 people at the same time, and Tristana is kind of a good late game hyper carry that can kind of just carry from auto attacks without having to jump in and things like that. So I thought going for early Runans is pretty interesting, but I actually tried it out for myself. I actually think it is pretty good. Now of course the main drawback of this is not having early crit, right? As in when I say that, I mean that you kind of lose out on getting 75%, 100% crit early because you're putting a non-crit item in the middle of your build, but it is actually pretty decent. And then here you have IE just to increase your crit damage and give you more AD. And then you have Triforce as the last item. I think you really go for this as the last item because it's just really good stats, right? 250 health makes you a lot tankier, a little bit of AD, a little bit of attack speed, ability haste just useful, and spell blade also pretty useful. But I think it's mostly for the tankiness and the health, right? Now one of the issues of this build is the missing armor pen, right? This build has no armor pen, right? So I actually have tried this build swapping out IE for more reminder, and it has worked out as well. And on some other instances, like in the gameplay you'll see later on, I believe I swapped out Triforce for armor pen. So basically I just reordered Runans to earlier compared to her normal build. All of these are kind of fine, all of these kind of can work. They're all kind of variations of the same build. But for the runes, you want to go for Lethal Tempo for the attack speed as well as the attack range. Brutal, of course, because you're an ADC that auto attacks a ton. And then Giant Slayer to counter the tanks, as well as Alacrity for more attack speed. And then Bone Pitting for the defensive capabilities. For the spells, you want to go for, of course, Flash. And of course, you normally want to go for either Cleanse, barrier, or exhaust, depending on what you're against and what's your preference. But with all that said, let's quickly move on to our gameplay. Okay, so let's take a look at our gameplay itself. So you know what I say to you guys, normally I do prefer to play Tristana with an engager because I actually think Tristana is actually not very strong in the early game anymore after she got her base AD nerf like by 8 over the course of a couple of nerfs, and also a lot of her early game was weakened, like her E and things like that. So her early game is actually a lot weaker than what it used to be, mostly because people are playing a lot of Kalista, Vayne, and Tristana in the top lane, so they had to nerf her AD a lot to kind of kick her out of the top lane, but as a result she suffered in the ADC role as well. So normally I like to get an engager because that kind of helps you to lock someone down in the early game and then get early game kills and snowball. But Tristana, don't forget, is a hyper carry as well and can work perfectly well with an enchanter as well. Except that the playstyle with an enchanter is completely different, right? Because you can play aggressive in the early game with an engager, but with an enchanter, you basically want to be a lot more passive in the early game, and if you fight in the early game, it's going to be those opportunistic fights where enemies are overextended or you're getting ganked or things like that. Otherwise, you normally don't want to just jump straight in onto someone and attack them unless you already gotten like a kill or two and you can actually solo kill them, or you can basically score the kill with your damage. Because don't forget, Tristana does a lot of burst damage with her fully charged E into ult kind of combo, so that is really lethal as well in the correct circumstances. So here we're with Emilio, and Tristana Melio can be a very strong combo in the mid to late game, especially after we get our Runan's Hurricane in this match, because obviously with Runan's Hurricane, that's a lot more of a front to back item. I mean, Runan's Hurricane is not going to help when you're jumping in and you're trying to proc the bomb onto a single target. What it is going to help with is when you stand in the back line, you pop your Q, and then you start blasting people like a normal front to back ADC gameplay instead of the more aggressive jumping in kind of style. So with Melio, you will get even more range, and then you will be able to, of course, blast people down at range. And of course, since Melio's range is a percentage scaling of your own range, don't forget that Tristana gains range with every level, so when you eventually hit the higher levels, you will get even more range, and then this will then give Melio will then give you even more range, and you will definitely have the highest range in the game, right? Tristana does outrange Caitlyn at level, I think, 13 onwards, so with Melio, you will outrange Caitlyn at even earlier than that, and of course when you're max level and you have Melio W on, you will actually outrange Caitlyn, so that's kind of wild when you think about it, because Caitlyn's biggest strength is of course having the highest base range in the game, but of course other champions like Jinx and Tristana can eventually get higher range than Caitlyn, so Caitlyn is definitely not going to have a good time against a late game Tristana. So in this match, you don't really have a lot of dive. You do have like Fiora and Pantheon who might want to go in on us, which is why we do have the cleanse to especially cleanse Sona's like ulti and Pantheon's stun. But other than that, it's not a lot of threats from the entire bottom side of the map in terms of Heimer, Caitlyn, and Sona. They're not gonna really dive in on us and kill us or anything like that. So we are in a pretty good spot for front to back kind of gameplay. We also have Tristan. We also have Tryndamere and Gnar as frontline. Now here Pantheon comes in for a play, but you can see that nothing too much really gets done. Melio does take a bunch of damage, but Melio W healing is actually pretty high, surprisingly high if you are underestimating it. Now Tryndamere comes in for a counter gang, but he's not really getting a lot done. Honestly, now here I'm just attacking whoever I can, fully stacking my little tempo. Sona ult comes in, no need to cleanse that because there's no follow up anyways. And yeah, basically both the junglers just came in for a gank and nothing too much else happened. We're still completely golden. We're still all good. We're just gonna keep on farming and clearing the wave. Melio has taken the base because he was pretty low, but I believe Sona probably has as well, based on the fact that we cannot actually see her at all. So it's 1v1 with me and Caitlyn at the moment. Now, if you're really very spicy, there is a kill window where you can jump in on Caitlyn 1v1 and kill her. The main reason I'm not doing that is because, number one, that window is very short, right? Because Sona is walking from base back to lane. So if you don't kill her quickly, Sona is going to reach and he is going to help her out and you're going to be in trouble. And secondly, this Caitlyn has barrier. So barrier is going to of course give her the extra shield, and I don't think you have enough damage to break through the barrier and finish the kill, so I'm not going to take any unnecessary risks. Don't forget that in this particular matchup, if we just don't do anything and don't take any unnecessary risks and we just play to scale, Tristana eventually does outscale Caitlyn when you reach like to the kind of 3-4 item kind of point. So I'm perfectly fine just to not do anything except just farm and just keep on getting more gold and getting more items. We don't necessarily even have to kill them. Of course, if they do something foolish, we of course need to punish and kill them. But if we just play the farming simulator on both sides, I'm perfectly fine with that as well. Now that doesn't make for very exciting gameplay, but sometimes it just do be like that. As Sona comes in for just a little bit of a tickle with her passive stun. Here Tryndamere is doing the dragon, so we're gonna help him out just a little bit. Sona is kind of just, I don't know, soft contesting, checking for a little bit of vision, but she's now getting caught out, flashes away, has to pop the ulti to disengage, so it's fine. Like at the end of the day, we got a free flash and free ult from Sona, so I'm perfectly good with that. If she makes another mistake, she is gonna die because she doesn't have her flash and her ulti anymore. She still has summoner heal though. But this could be a window that we could possibly be able to punish, right? Because Caitlyn still has all her spells up. She's not very vulnerable, but Sona is pretty vulnerable, right? And based on the fact that Sona's vulnerable, you could indirectly say Caitlyn is also vulnerable because Sona cannot put herself at risk to really help the Caitlyn if Caitlyn finds herself in a pickle, right? That's one way to see it, depending on how selfless the Sona is. Like, is Sona willing to die to save her Caitlyn? Questions like that is something you'll only know when you actually see it in the game. So here in the early game, it is a little bit rough, Tristana versus Caitlyn, because Tristana does have really short range at the earlier levels, and Caitlyn of course has the longest base range, which means that we are going to get poked quite a bit, and we also are going to maybe do some minions. You can see that at this current stage of the game, we're about 500 gold behind the Caitlyn, despite the fact that all we've been doing is farming. She hasn't actually killed us at all, and she hasn't gotten any tower plates either, so I probably just lost a little bit of farm here and there, and overall it adds up in the grand scheme of things. And sometimes with Caitlyn, that is just that's just the way it goes, right? Caitlyn sometimes can't kill you in lane, and she just gets leads by starving you of CS instead, right? So to remedy the issue, I'm actually gonna farm the Krugs here, because you can see that Tryndamere is just in base. He's not really farming, and I really need to get my power spike of my Bloodthirster. So I back from my Bloodthirster power spike. Milio it's a little bit of a scuffle, but seems to be generally alright. And Pantheon is becoming a little bit of an issue with the collector first item. Here we're making it back to the lane. Heimerdinger going for a very aggressive dive. Milio, ends up dying immediately. And here we're trying to blast down the Sona, who, remember, doesn't have flash anymore. So here we are able to eventually get that, but unfortunately we do end up dying as well in return. The Heimerdinger does insane amounts of damage, not sure how that's happened. And he actually has like a 2k gold lead on the Victor, despite Victor not actually having died, mostly because of course Pantheon has kind of been spam ganking the immobile Victor, and Victor in the end finally ends up falling here. So we have Heimerdinger and Pantheon with a huge lead. Mid jungle of the enemy team is popping off, and that lead has kind of translated to the ADC as well. Caitlyn's now 1k gold ahead of me, but she overstays, and I'm just gonna blast her into next week. There we go, we get the kill onto her, get the reset, hop back on out. Milio gives us Summoner heal, and here Pantheon is kind of stuck in no man's land. I'm maintaining my distance because a spear is going to do a lot of damage to me when I'm this low on health, so I'm kind of hovering the fight, but I'm not going to take the risk of jumping in there or like, putting myself too close to the Pantheon, because I don't want him to get a kill onto me for no good reason. Sona here getting a little bit caught again. We're hopping over, trying to kill the Sona, and we do end up getting her with the bomb. Really nice, getting a reset to bring us back to the minions and continue on farming. At this point, my team is behind enough that we actually have objective bounties here. The enemy team does have about a 6k gold lead against us, so Tristana takes tower very, very quickly. We're just blasting this tower. We almost get the entire tower, but unfortunately Caitlyn is back to defend. Now, we have Tryndamere on the hover. So I actually wanted to kind of push in and go for the entire tower. Tryndamere is not getting caught. Milio cancels his back. And I'm here going for the tower and the objective bounty instead of going to help. And here I'm trying to escape. And honestly, I think I've been way too greedy here. I'm expecting to die to Pantheon, but I did it for the bounty. Pantheon engages onto Milio for some reason. And then Milio is able to boot the Pantheon away from myself, and we are able to actually get out scot-free. Now honestly, I feel that if Pantheon engaged on me there, I think I would have been in trouble. Now granted, Milio did have the kick to disengage the Pantheon from me, but I think I would have definitely been in trouble. Anyways, off of getting that objective bounty, I'm able to complete my Navori, and Milio is able to complete Iron Sensor, so very huge spikes for the both of us. This should be very, very helpful in terms of scaling to the game and getting some damage, right? So 2 items for me, and a full completed item for Milio. Milio, of course, with the Iron Sensor giving me more attack speed when he buffs me up, is going to be insane. Now here, I'm gonna try to ignore the Sona because she doesn't really do damage. I'm gonna try to blast down this tower. For some reason, Sona stands in the blast radius, so I'm just gonna blast her like with 2 more auto attacks, and we actually get a completely free kill on her. We also get the tower and another objective bounty. I get completely chunked out by the Heimerdinger, and he has set up his turret, so I'm not going to jump in onto him. I'm just going to go back and get some fruit. He's able to escape with a sliver of HP, and I'm just going to remove the towers so that he doesn't have those the next time he comes back to lane, as well as picking up the CS. Now speaking of CS, the bot lane has a bunch of CS accrued. But since Victor is already headed that way, I'm not going to compete with farm. I'm just going to go and grab the jungle instead. At this point in the game, I'm not sure if there is the buff sharing yet, but we'll see if my other teammates manage to get the buff. Turns out there isn't. I think on the next spawn there should be the buff sharing. And mid lane wave is now coming in, so we're going to be able to farm this mid lane wave as well. The name of the game is getting the farm. Gnar gets ulted, but Milio is able to easily block. And just continuing to pick up more farm. I have the most farm on my team already at this point, and I'm actually getting engaged on by Fiora here. I realized that I'm not going to be able to kill her, so I hopped the wall back to safety. But my team is now here to back me up, so I'm kind of hovering my team a little bit. I'm auto-taking the minions to lifesteal, and then I realized I can auto-attack Fiora over the wall, so that's what I'm doing. I'm actually auto-attacking her over the wall. Now auto-attacking Heimerdinger, who's found himself in no man's land. We're able to completely take out the Heimerdinger, and now we're back to actual full health from restoring our health off of Heimerdinger and the minions. Now hopping in onto Pantheon, we're going to quickly get rid of him. Down he goes, we get the shutdown, and then we're going to get rid of the Fiora. Now Sona is like 1 HP, so I'm just going to flash over, and she stuns me, but yeah, not QSS, I cleansed way too late, not sure why I did that, but eventually we are indeed able to pick up those kills. So huge number of kills. We get a shutdown onto Pantheon as well, I believe, and we also got rid of Heimerdinger, a major threat, and this actually puts us at 12k gold, which is the most gold in the game by a mile. Heimerdinger is only just reaching 11k gold, just about. So you can see that from us farming all of the waves, all of the jungle, and just getting opportunistic kills here and there, we managed to accrue a lot of gold, and this actually brings us to Runans, which is our 3-item power spike. You can see that at this point Caitlyn has only the double energized item and only halfway towards IE, of course having to build executioners as well to counter the melee healing. My team unfortunately is getting into a huge fight in the top lane without me there, and I thought that they were going to disengage the fight, but they actually go in, so that's wild. So I'm slowly making my way there while getting farm along the way, and I'm reaching the fight. Nar did get a nice stun, like so, onto the wall. I'm just gonna blast the Fiora. First, you can see there with my Runans, I'm taking all of them out. Now here is really unfortunate, right? We have 1 HP Fiora, like 1 HP Pantheon, and 1 HP Caitlyn. Now honestly, if the Nar, who's actually honestly pretty useless up to this point, 2, 6, and 3 Nar, just block that Caitlyn out for me, I think I kill like 2 to 3 people there at least, and I may not even die, I'm not even sure. Right, so that was really unfortunate. Sometimes you just need a little bit of help from your team, but you aren't always gonna get it because, of course, you know, it's solo queue, and your teammates are kind of just random people. So either way, we continue on with the game. The enemy team picks up the Baron. Obviously, not good news for us at all. But the good news is that one of the huge perks of going for Runan's Hurricane Tristana that I realized is your wave clear is bonkers. So normally Tristana doesn't really have the best wave clear. You can pop your W and your E on the wave to try to clear it, but Tristana is not a really good wave clear champion, right? Not as bad as some of the bad ones like Ezreal, but she's definitely not a good wave clear champion, as I get completely poked by Heimerdinger and lose a ton of HP and then heal up all of that HP that I lost off of the wave. Here Fiora very overextended as well as Sona. We're just blasting her from a distance. And Nar gets the ulti onto the Fiora. We are able to take her out. Question mark? No, we are not. Apparently she's still 1 HP. So now here again, we're not jumping in, we're blasting from a distance. The playstyle of this build is, of course, pretty different to normal Tristana builds. You don't want to be as aggressive because with the Runans, it really helps you out when you're at range and not as much when you're in melee. So you really want to play more front to back with this kind of playstyle. With this build, so here I try to jump in on Fiora, but unfortunately she's able to get away. But yeah, so as I was saying, the wave clear you have with the Runans is really good because attacking just 3 minutes at the same time allows you to clear away very quickly, and we even get our IE now, completing our 4th item. So normally you would go for Triforce as the last item, as you've seen in the build, but I do remember that in this game I think I go for the Executioner's Calling just because of the healing, you know, like from various sources like Sona. Right, so here again I'm maintaining range and I'm just blasting. You can see Sona's taking a little bit of free damage because she has not enough range. And yeah, I'm just blasting down Sona. Sona dies. And now Heimerdinger is on the run, putting down his turrets to try to dissuade the chase. I'm a little bit too far to chase, so I'm just going to continue clearing the minions. We can see that we're kind of getting to that stage, or we are honestly at that stage where we're a very strong hyper carry, especially with the bonus range from Milio. That's just nuts, right? So here Fiora just hops back in. Not sure what that's about. I'm not jumping into her because there might be somebody behind her. So which is like, there it is. Pantheon is right there. So now I'm blasting Pantheon and Fiora. I'm taking a lot of damage, and unfortunately I'm able to only kill one of them, which is Fiora, before Caitlyn out ends my life. If Caitlyn out wasn't there, I think I kill both of them because I get the reset, I hop away, get the spacing, and then murder the other one. But unfortunately that was not the case. Now I've actually picked up my Stasis, which is going to help out a lot against these kind of situations. Because honestly, I think two of my deaths were like from Caitlyn now, which if I had stasis there, I could have actually stopped. Now, for some reason, there Heimerdinger decides he wants to try to solo end the game, but he runs out of minions and he doesn't run away. He decides to instead give away a free kill over to Gnar, which I guess is a freebie. But I can see what the idea there was, but it should have been abundantly clear to him by the time his minion wave was gone that he couldn't end the game, and as a result, he ends up not backing off and ends up giving away a free kill for no real reason. And yeah, so now we're back on the map. The Elder Dragon is going to be spawning in 10 seconds. So here, I'm honestly on the wrong side of the map. I'm not sure what I'm doing here. But yeah, I'm gonna slowly make my way over to the Elder Dragon. I'm trying to push out mid lane on the way as well because enemy team does already have mid inhib. Our mid inhib taken down, so the minion wave is already gonna naturally push towards us. Control ward not in the bush, unfortunately. But we're actually that's Baron. That's not Elder. Elder's coming out in 20 seconds. That's Baron that's up. Huge Gnar ult, 3-man Gnar ult. Catches Heimerdinger, and Heimerdinger is gone, and everybody's just dying at this point. We get everybody killed. Only Fiora is left alive, and I think we might be able to maybe end. The main issue is that all of our waves are kind of in trash positions. They're all way too far away. I'm not sure where Fiora has went. My team is doing Barons. I guess I'm just gonna help them out. I guess the safe way is to just get double objectives, and then we can just end the game off of that. I mean, yeah, I don't know where Fiora went. I thought one of the things Fiora might do is try to split push and steal an inhib, but she ends up not actually doing that. Now, Tryndamere is now on the Baron. We're making our way there. Fiora has turned up at the Baron, but there's no way she can, like, 1v5, and if the smite is not horrible, it should be a free Elder. So Gnar is now on the split push, and at this point, all we need to do is group up, push, and then end the game. Right, so here I'm just going to quickly grab a reset, complete my final item, the Mole Reminder, giving me 100% crit, even though in this build, it's not always 100% crit. Now, unfortunately, my team is kind of trolling. They're engaging in a fight there when myself and Victor are not yet at the fight. Now, we are making our way over to the fight. Gnar is also still in base. Here I hop over the other side of Pantheon, get the reset. Now I'm just blasting people down. Fiora lasts a couple seconds longer because she did, pop her riposte, and then I pick up an easy quadra kill. Whole enemy team is wiped out, and now it's just a simple matter of pushing in the minions and then ending the game. And yeah, so I think you can completely see how this build kind of works. You can see my playstyle did change from playing super aggressive jumping in, which is the playstyle I love to play on Tristana, to playing more on the backline and more as a traditional ADC, and you can see the success the build has given me. So I'm gonna leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching, and goodbye.
Victory!